How can I get better karma? So the reason I wrote that was because on my last video I saw there was lots of questions about karma and lots of stuff written. So I thought I will address that subject today. So first off, the most important question is who is it that has karma? So before we even think or talk about what karma is, the question is, who is it that has karma? So who is this I that has karma? So what most people on this planet assume is that they are separate entities that are inside the body, and that who they are is the body, their actions, their past, their future, their job, their relationships with people, and who they are all these, you could say effects, or all these things that they name themselves, like some effects, some things that they name themselves to be. So I am John, I have 3 kids, I'm a father, I have a wife, I'm a husband, I'm a lawyer, I have a big house in Kensington, I'm very successful, I feel guilty about my relationship with my parents, whatever it is. And they believe that they're that person, and then they have this image in their head of that is who they are, and they have this image of that person always interacting with the world. So rather than simply interacting with the world, it always goes through this filter of who you believe yourself to be, this image, this self-reflection. So you're kind of simultaneously acting and being in the world, and also imagining who you are being in the world. And that image of you, that feeling of you, can be really different from what you actually are, or what the body actually is, or what's being presented. So you could be somebody that's like really skinny and beautiful and successful, but in the head the image is that you're not successful, you're ugly, you're fat. Or you could also equally be the opposite way. You could be like small, short, plumpy, and you could think that you're tall, thin, beautiful, and super successful in this life. But you can have a really different image of self as to what's actually being presented. But none of that is who you are. That's appearing in who you are. That's something that's experienced. So you could say that anything that's experienced cannot be who you truly are, because who's experiencing it? So who you truly are is something that can only be found here in what's happening, in the experience. And it's not something that moves in time. It's not something that that is here one moment and then gone the next. Everything about yourself, so everything about the illusory you comes and goes. You're a nice person, you're a rude person, you're pretty, you're ugly, you're fat, you're thin, you're tall, you're short, you're happy, you're unhappy, you have children, you don't have children. Everything that isn't you comes and goes. What you truly are never comes and goes. So what's here, what's present all the time. And there's two qualities, if you want to call them qualities, that are always here. And that is one, that there's two qualities that are always here. One is consciousness. There is always this looking, there's always experiencing. And the other is this sense of being, this aliveness. And they're always here, no matter what. This empty looking and aliveness. What happens is the consciousness and the person are normally like interlinked. So you feel like you're a person or a body that's conscious, and that you're conscious and separate from the world, and that you're experiencing from inside your body. Whereas you're not actually a body that's conscious. There is simply consciousness, which is all things that appear. Consciousness is in everything that's appearing. It's not separate from appearances. When you really investigate consciousness, you realize that it's not located, it's not behind the person, it's not prior to, it's not in front of, and it doesn't start or stop anywhere. There is no actual space and time. The consciousness is all things that are appearing. You can never grab hold of consciousness, yet consciousness experiences everything. It knows every thought that appears, it knows the room, it knows the computer. The problem is most of the time you're objectifying consciousness and you're trying to think of it as a thing that you see. Consciousness is not personal awareness. So personal awareness is like self-awareness, like the awareness that you're being an idiot, you're being nice, you're being kind. And self-awareness is always also the ability to move the lens, so move the camera, so you can move your attention, so your personal awareness, onto your big toe, onto your knee, and you can also have that feeling of reflecting on how you're behaving or something. But that isn't consciousness. Consciousness is prior to that. Consciousness knows that. Consciousness never moves. You can't move the lens of it. It's always in everything that's appearing. It's still, and yet everything that appears in it moves. But because you think that consciousness is moving around with your body, and that you're moving around in a world, it's really hard to see what I'm talking about. Whereas that's not true. You're not moving around in a world. You're not somebody that's moving around the world. That's appearing to happen. A body is appearing to move around the world, but everything is appearing and disappearing in consciousness, in who you truly are. So what is karma in relation to that? Karma is something that belongs to the body. And karma to me is conditioning. So it's behavior. I know that karma is described as action. So karma is described as like, I hurt you, and because I hurt you, I get something bad back. But I don't see it like that. I see it as cause and effect. So karma is also described as effect, not a cause. But you can't find cause and effect. Like, they're endless. So say if I get drunk, and when I'm drunk, I slap you around the face, and then the next day you're really angry with me. Maybe you go to the police station and report me and I get charged. You can't separate out any of those actions, because like getting drunk might not be the cause of, or it's obviously not the cause of the slap. That might be the effect. So what's the cause of getting drunk? Maybe my parents are alcoholics and I have alcoholism in my body. Or maybe you just come out of a really abusive relationship, you don't know, and then the effect is getting drunk, and then the effect from that is hitting a roommate or something, and then having stuff come back to get you in trouble. And that to me is karma. It's actually, to me, and everyone's allowed to define their own words and make up their own words of what works for them and what doesn't work for them. But karma, to me, is the way this body is conditioned and the way it reacts and responds to situations. And the way it reacts and responds to situation is what the world will give back to you. Like, ultimately, it's not all separate, it's all one movement. So if you're a really angry, nasty person, then more than likely the world will always give you back angry, nasty actions. Like, people will be aggressive towards you. If you're really fun and loving and happy, more than likely you'll get that back. If you play victim, more than likely you'll get a perpetrator back. If you're always wanting to play the child, more than likely you'll get a parent figure. So karma isn't going to make you happy. So producing better karma isn't going to make you happier. Like it's something that the body is responding to life in. It isn't going to make you, no, I'm saying that wrong. It isn't going to give you freedom. It isn't going to give you what you're truly looking for. So sorting out your karma and getting better karma isn't actually going to give you the freedom you seek. However, it tends to be when you get into this subject, you do begin to take on better karma, because you begin to understand the mechanisms of these bodies and how they're interacting with people. And through that, it propels you into more positive situations, maybe more positive mindsets and positive outlook on life on the conditioned level. But that's not who you are. Your mistake, your suffering has come from believing you're this person with karma. Whereas actually, you've never been that person. That person's been playing out in you. You're beyond that. You can think of it like wearing a virtual reality headset. So it's like consciousness is wearing a virtual reality headset, and then your character is being played out in the virtual reality. And the character has particular programming, which you could call karma, and then that through that particular programming, it makes particular responses happening in the game. And all the time, the character in the game is asking, who am I? Who am I? Who am I? How do I get home? It's not conscious of that. It's seeking. It's not really seeking for who it is. It's seeking to get home, but that is seeking for who you are. So it's seeking to get home in sex. It's seeking to get home in relationships. It's seeking to get home in winning all the money or getting lots of houses or having lots of children. It's seeking and looking for that moment of rest, whereas it will never rest until there is this energetic movement back to who it is. That involvement in the game is what's made the game too intense, is what's made your life too intense. When you remember that it's a game, but it's not the person that remembers that, it's beyond the person, when there's a shift back to that consciousness, remembering that, then there is a freedom in that game, or there's a freedom in that world. But it can't be that person in the virtual reality, because that person's not alive. It doesn't exist. It's a character being played out. It's a program. It's a set of numbers all playing out really rapidly to give the appearance of a person. And who you truly are is that which is watching and that which is experiencing the game, and that sense of a presence, that sense of aliveness. And that's happening right here, right now. Like, you only find the watcher in the actual watching, in the experience, in the consciousness. It's not found in that character daydreaming about a better future, or daydreaming about getting enlightened, or daydreaming about having better karma. I might have already said that. It's found in the experience. It's found in the one that is watching the experience. And that one that's watching the experience isn't separate from the experience itself. It's not separate from the virtual world. Okay, maybe I've said enough now. You can ask questions. Let me turn on Skype.